Ritu and I have known each other for over 20 years because the organization I worked for, creating wheelchairs in low-income countries, and her organization, Mobility India, have partnered and collaborated, but they have also importantly collaborated with a huge number of international partners, including I.S.P.O, hosted congresses, really important meetings, and they've turned themselves from a really grassroots organization based in Bengaluru to one of the foremost institutions of education and provision in India. And Ritu is the academic and technical director of that organization. And they have always, from my own experience, been an absolute pleasure to collaborate with and really good at what they do. So I'm really honored to invite Ritu Ghosh to be the Knud Jansen lecturer.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everyone. God morgon, Stockholm. I'm truly honored to stand before you. It is both humbling and inspiring to be a part of this tradition and at this gathering today. I'm deeply grateful to the President and the Executive Board of I.S.P.O for inviting me to share my experiences in this distinguished forum. Okay. So today, I share my story and experiences as a testimony to showcase the impact we as a community could create in the lives of persons with disabilities having little awareness, access, or resources at their disposal. I will talk about the organization Mobility India, where I work, and my journey, how we took small steps strategically over decades to serve people better as we went along. Today, I reflect on the path that has brought me here, a journey shaped by uncertainty, curiosity, challenges, and the unwavering support of my parents, family, mentors, friends, and colleagues. My encounter with rehabilitation began as P&O student 33 years ago in India. I grew up in Ranchi, Jharkhand, where I saw gender discrimination against girls, women at every stage of life, though I was fortunate not to face it myself. I was fortunate my parents supported me to complete my studies, participate in sports, arts, public spaces, and so on, at a time when most of the girls were expected to get married as their life goal. My parents encouraged me in the P&O field despite it being an unfamiliar career option for women. Next slide, please. Choosing the P&O field was a blessing, though not an easy path. I studied at the National Institute under the Ministry of Social Justice in India, one of the main developers of the national workforce in physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and prosthetics and orthotics, while other courses had gender balance. I was the only woman in the batch among 11 students in the P&O program. It felt like the system thinking aloud, what is young women doing here? With minimal scope of interaction in the first few months, I felt cut off from the normal flow of academic information. Was I even visible in the group of men? During the practical session, my instructor focused mainly on teaching the male students. I would continue to stand, observe, and wait for my turn. P&O was seen as a man's domain, and many assumed, anyway, I might eventually discontinue the course. Faced with silent resistance, I had two choices: either leave the course or continue. I came with my parents' dream and my dream to become somebody, but I was turning out to be a nobody. I decided not to stay that way. I shared my struggle with the head of P&O department. He asked the solution. I answered, make me the class leader. And that was a turning point. As a class leader, I handled all communication and connected with the teachers, including guest faculty. Although my voice began to be heard and valued, I also had to prove myself as a clinician in making and demonstrate that to everyone, every day, every time. Soon, my teachers began to appreciate me, and in time, I started engaging freely with my classmates and students from other disciplines. It was also here that I met my future husband, a knowledgeable, capable professional, a patient, and supportive partner in my life journey. On the other hand, my college hostel roommates were women with disabilities and students from less developed parts of India. Reflecting back, I am fortunate to have learned from the first hand of the compounded challenges they faced being both disabled and female. I realized that support for women begins at home. Empowerment starts when parents treat daughters equally to sons. Further, meaningful inclusion is defined by quality of women experiences across different levels, not just by access or representation. How women are treated and supported truly defines inclusion. Rehabilitation services and access to assistive technology were almost non-existent in the rural areas in India as recently as 3 decades ago. But this scenario began to change. In the early 90s, Action on Disability and Development, UK-based charity, set up AD India to empower persons with disability and build leadership. They soon realized that empowerment without rehabilitation services meant little, especially in the villages with the huge unmet needs. Few years later, 1994, Mobility India, MI, an Indian NGO, was founded based on the evidence and the feasibility studies, ensuring that its objective aligned with the actual needs of the population and the contextual realities of prosthetics and orthotics service delivery. The founder executive director of Mobility India was my former department head in the P&O school, invited me to join MI. I gladly joined MI in 1996 as a clinician, knowing his inclusive philosophy, leadership, and inclusion. At that time, it was rare to see women in this field, especially in such roles. What a responsibility and what a mismatch. Yet for me, it was a beginning not just as a professional, but as a woman choosing to lead in the space where over 90% were men. Joining Mobility India was one of the best things that happened to me. I was a part of a small team and had daily challenges to meet, but also the freedom to take decisions and be responsible for both successes and failures. It was here that I honed my skills as a clinician, educator, and later also a management professional. My professional life has been deeply intertwined with that of my organization from 3 decades. Permit me, therefore, to cite a few examples of key projects to demonstrate how MI navigated the challenges to transform the lives of persons with disabilities, in particular women. Since inception, MI started working in the rural NGO in South India, providing technical support in prosthetics and orthotics through training on fabricating various assistive devices. I realized how few women and girls came for rehab services. MI had to expand its services to meet the increasing diversity of needs. My perspective on gender began to inform our work. I took active role in spreading awareness on the need and the benefits of prosthetics and orthotics and other devices among user and stakeholder were major objectives of our activities. Mobile prosthetics and orthotics care program was integral of the initiative and assisted in the last mile connectivity. I gained not only greater confidence, but more importantly, professional respect of acceptance as a woman in the field. This journey also helped me to truly understand the meaning and the value of mentorship in professional growth, both as a recipient and eventually as a mentor myself. Let me now share something about RAWWD, another important aspect of my journey and our preference for serving women. In deeply traditional and patriarchal society in many parts of India, women in general encounter significant barriers in accessing adequate housing, health, education, vocational training, and employment, face larger exploitation and gender-based violence and discrimination. I found that intimate nature of our role often discourages women with disability from seeking assistive devices rehabilitation services. Many girls with disability did not attend school or vocational training, and leaving them unable to support themselves financially and remaining dependent. Mobility India established rehabilitation aid workshop by women with disabilities in 1997, aimed at training 10 women with disability from urban slums as orthotic technicians, and thereby establishing their capacity to earn a livelihood, bring back self-esteem, create future mentors and role models. I lived with these girls in the slums for 18 months, have to direct experience of their day-to-day life challenges, learning experiences, and their coping mechanism. Apart from rehabilitating them and also guided their technical training, they equally needed life skills beyond technical training to communicate, to move, to deal, being independent, and for social integration. And help breaking stereotypes and leading changes. In 1997, we started what is believed to be the world's first P&O clinic run by women with disabilities. They have been operating for 28 years and independently from 25 years. As a founder treasurer, I mentored the team for 14 years. The women gained skills, independence, and social acceptance. Of the 21 trained, 80% are now married with families, leading fulfilling personal and professional lives. They have served over 50,000 people, and 42% of them are women. Another all-women enterprise started 23 years back by MI that makes the famous low-cost Jaipur technology prosthetic foot. This is one of the most accessible and modern production center managed exclusively by women with disabilities. The project has provided a livelihood to 10 such women so far. It has created a model of an inclusive environment with appropriate infrastructure and equipment for the women to work. From users to makers. Supplied 50,000 feet across 19 countries, with units serving also as a research lab, truly leading by example. I will now share about Mobility India's Center, our hub for rehabilitation, research, learning, and inclusion. Next chapter of my life journey. In 1998, our grassroots network partners emphasized the urgent need for formally trained personnel in the field of rehabilitation. In response, Mobility India initiated the development of a dedicated rehabilitation research and training center. I played a significant role in its setup. What is particularly noteworthy is the building was designed with accessibility in mind, well before local regulations made such features mandatory. Looking back, I reflect how furniture's layout throughout the center has been customized to promote greater independence for users. This center serves as a model for inclusive design and rehabilitation, inspiring similar efforts nationally and in other regions to build accessible environment for persons with disability. Now, let's watch video on what we do currently.
Mobility India provides rehabilitation for all who need it. The unmet need for rehabilitation is addressed through appropriate therapy and innovative technology, imparting professional education to deliver quality care. Therapy and assistive devices are provided at the local community, in schools and public health centers, thereby enabling conducive and an inclusive learning environment. Appropriate interventions help in leading a healthy and an independent life and assist the children in attending school and recreational activities, and of course, bringing social change and improving quality of life.
The next chapter of my life, bridging local context with formal training, local drivers, global support, and regional impact. Our first association with I.S.P.O began in 1997 and is still going strong. A short course on lower limb prosthetic was organized in Jaipur as a part of a national professional development program. It has been a truly rewarding experience for me and for Mobility India to work with I.S.P.O for nearly 28 years. This long partnership has greatly helped us grow and improve our prosthetic orthotic program. We began formal training in 2002 with the focus on single discipline, lower limb prosthetics and orthotics and rehabilitation therapy assistance, aiming to build a skilled P&O and mid-level therapy workforce for the region. To ensure a relevant curriculum for primary level service delivery, we collaborated with INGOs like VSO and HI and received teachers training to launch the program. We evaluated the training program with support from external consultant, visiting graduates in the field that time, speaking with their supervisors, and conducting semi-structured interviews. Based on this feedback, we revised the curriculum in 2003. I led continued evaluation in 2004 and 2005. I engaged sponsoring organizations in Asia and Africa to keep the process cost-effective and used field data and insight to further adapt the curriculum and continuously strengthen the program. We began receiving students from South Asia, Africa, and Middle East. Here, ICRC played a key role not only in getting the workforce trained for their partner projects, but also in gradually supporting MI to build our resources step by step. At the 12th ISPO World Congress in 2007, I was invited by USAID and ISPO to share MI's graduate follow-up approach in Asia and Africa. In 2009, they invited me to join the task force for Nepal outcome study, where a similar approach was applied with the addition of interviewing the user our graduate worked with. This has further led to a series of impact assessment studies by ISPO. This hands-on reflective process strengthened our program and shaped me as an educator to lead meaningful change. Our first major milestone came in 2007 when we received international recognition. Mr. Dan Blocker met senior officials of Rehabilitation Council of India in 2007 and continued to explore the complexities of a P&O education sector in India. Participating in and contributing to the ISPO Strategic Planning Workshop in El Salvador in 2008, an educators meeting at the Toronto Seminar 2009, and other so many series of activities impressed me the ISPO active role and committed members in supporting and improving education standards worldwide. These experiences further strengthened my skills and inspired me to become a passionate educator. By 2010, with ISPO support, we reviewed the BPO curriculum. As an RCI P&O expert member, I helped integrate ISPO's work into the national curriculum, focusing on clinical practice and evidence-based approaches. We steadily improved the program. After further consultation in 2015 and 2021, we finally received ISPO recognition for BPO program. I was again amazed how passionate the ISPO global community members support. This journey is a discovery of how international collaboration, when grounded in local realities, can drive long-term impact. I am deeply grateful to ISPO, former President Mr. Sepp Heim, former President Dan Blocker, and Dr. Steen Jansen for being consistent and supportive partner in this transformation. To further strengthen academic research and align with the national framework, we started a master program in 2020, the first in the southern region of India. In recent development, I was instrumental in introducing and getting the first PhD program in Prosthetics and Orthotics recognized by Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Karnataka, making a national milestone. Overall, our graduates now represent in the diversity of over 40 countries across globe. To highlight, 42 graduates are from Yemen, including 13 women. It took 8 years of ICRC and MI efforts to initiate building a female P&O workforce. It is encouraging to see more women participation. However, the evidence calls for more investment and targeted efforts to ensure women and persons with disabilities are encouraged to join P&O workforce. As a student, I often saw wheelchairs, but didn't know and understand clearly what they mean to user. The perception changed when my college roommate with disability called me, and she informed after giving birth, she couldn't move around, hold her baby, or feed her. She couldn't use her KFO and crutches. We provided her with a wheelchair and a toilet chair. It was my first insight to the user and wheelchair relationship and the daily living needs. The wheelchair you see in the image was already 13 years old when I met Tika. On the ground, there was a huge gap. Another chapter of my life journey, I will share now key glimpses of the journey in advancing wheelchair field. This slides marks a very important turning point for me and for Mobility India. It was the first time I was formally introduced to professional training in wheelchair service provision. Thanks to David Constantine and the motivation team of that time. This insight led the foundation of how I began integrating wheelchair services into MI's clinical service delivery across all tiers, and also into our training program. In 2006, we integrated wheelchair education in MI's curricula. By 2010, it became part of a national bachelor's program in Prosthetics and Orthotics. And in 2006, I began collaborating as a part of a WHO working group on wheelchair service provision. We hosted the I.S.P.O Consensus Conference on Wheelchairs of Developing Countries in 2006, and later the Global Wheelchair Stakeholders Meeting in 2018. These guidelines and training packages are still valuable tools to motivate stakeholders toward a formal approach to service provision and training. We realized that many stakeholders were still not keen on developing their workforce, and to address this, we began engaging with several universities across India. Conducted Pan-India campaign, we were successfully in integrating wheelchair content into PT and OT curriculum of 3 universities in India. Was also instrumental in developing local cadres of trainers in basic level wheelchair service provision in Jordan and Lebanon. MI set up wheelchair lab aligned with ISO testing standards, enabling local manufacturers and designers to access testing services at Mobility India. Wheelchair service provision has grown, but the demand for intermediate level services is rising. People need more customized solutions with follow-up support. Providers need more affordable and more options for appropriate products. We are now seeing more local manufacturers, specialized service providers, and innovative efforts to include people with disabilities. In this context, Create Conference brought together users and stakeholders, creating a platform for shared vision, collaboration, and innovation. Education in wheelchairs at all levels must be strengthened, including engagement with governments. We must continue improving training personnel, products, services, and follow-up, always keeping people's need at the center. Two years ago, Lakshmi was given wheelchair by a trained personnel, assessing her needs carefully. Since then, she has been moving around her community. Playing with other children and joining in the joy of life. It brought real happiness and a smile that says it all. Common modes of transports are two-wheelers an auto rickshaw, but carrying a foldable wheelchair on them is often difficult or simply not possible. Storing the wheelchair at relatives' house also becomes a burden. These were the concerns raised by her parents. I didn't have the answer. I asked them what they think can be done. Mother answered, "What if we had a foldable wheelchairs that fits into a trolley bag, just like how we carry clothes or other essential? Portable, easy to carry, and dignified. Do we have a solution to offer to Lakshmi's parents and many others?" I would like to conclude my presentation by stating that prioritize inclusive environment, help break gender barriers, create conversion models of inclusions in society, transform lives through mentorship. Mentorship has changed my life. And by addressing these 3 pillars of systemic change, holistic societal models, and personal empowerment, that collectively drives inclusive policies and meaningful and sustainable change on the ground. With gratitude, thank you to all my great colleagues, mentors, and friends who have been there with me at all times, network partners within India and across for trusting me and my organization, and our users and their families for sharing their lived experiences and being patient with technology developments. Thank you again, President David Constantine, past President Claude Tardif, President-elect Sandra, ISPO Executive Board members, World Congress Committee members, and local chairs, and all organizers. Mr. Chapel Khashnabis, my first head of the P&O department and my first director, and you all, the audience, for your patience and kind attention. Last but not the least, thank you, Stockholm, for giving me a lifetime memory to cherish. Wish you all a fantastic, inspiring, and memorable 20th World Congress of the ISPO. Thank you.
You made me really emotional. Thank you so much, Ritu. That was incredible, and it just is a really humbling reminder of the importance of collaboration, partnership, looking out beyond your own organization to a wider sector and the benefits that can reap, not only for your own organization, but for the sector as a whole, and the beneficiaries, really importantly. So, and MI has been a perfect example of that. I should also say that your collaboration with my organisation was not just me, it was Richard Frost and all the other team members. So a big group of us. But I have something for you here to say thank you for all the pressure I've put you under for the last 9 months, which is a certificate to say that you've given this lecture, if you'd like to take that, and an ISPO medal to say thank you, to remember today by. Take that.